This Jefferson nickel looks scratched, damaged, and worthless. But what if this bad condition coin is actually worth millions of dollars? Don't blink, this could be the most valuable coin you'll ever see. First up, Introduction. The 1976 D Jefferson nickel, also known as the Monticello nickel, is one of the most widely searched U.S. coins by beginners and advanced collectors alike. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but its historical background, bicentennial-era connection, minting volume, grading potential, and full steps rarity make it an important piece in American numismatics. Many people ask, is my 1976 D nickel rare? Can it be worth thousands or millions? What makes one valuable and another common? This article answers everything in detail. Basic coin information. Coin name, Jefferson nickel. Year, 1976. Mint mark, D, Denver Mint. Designer, Felix Schlag. Metal composition, 75% copper. 25% nickel. Weight, 5.0 grams. Diameter, 21.2 millimeters. Edge, plain. Face value, 5 cents. Type, business strike, circulation coin. Historical background. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. government selected Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, because of his major role in shaping American democracy and the Declaration of Independence. The reverse design features Monticello, Jefferson's plantation home in Virginia. Why 1976 is special? 1976 marked 200 years, or bicentennial, of American independence. While the nickel did not receive a special dual date, it was minted during a historic national celebration period, increasing public interest and long-term collectability. Denver Mint D production. Total mintage, 1976 D, 563,964,147 coins. This extremely high mintage means most coins are common, but condition makes all the difference. Design details. Obverse, front. Portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. In God We Trust. Date, 1976. Sharpness of hair, cheek, and jaw affects grade. Reverse, back. Monticello Building, United States of America, E pluribus unum, 5 cents. Mint mark D on the right side of Monticello. Full steps, FS, the key to value. The most important factor for a 1976 D nickel is FS. What are full steps? At the base of Monticello, there are 6 horizontal steps. If all steps are sharp, complete, and uninterrupted, the coin qualifies as full steps, FS. Most 1976 D nickels do not have full steps due to weak strikes. Why FS matters? FS coins are scarce. FS coins are highly demanded. FS coins sell for hundreds of dollars. Coin grading explained. Grading uses the Sheldon scale, 1 to 70. Circulated grades, G4 to VF20, heavy wear. XF40, moderate wear. AU50 to AU58, almost uncirculated. Uncirculated, mint state, MS60 to MS63, average uncirculated. MS64 to MS65, strong luster. MS66 to MS67, premium condition. Only MS65 plus coins have serious collector value. Market value chart, 1976 D. Circulated coins, $0.05 to $0.25, face value to minimal premium. Uncirculated, no FS, MS63, $3 to $5, MS64, $6 to $10, MS65, $12 to $25, MS66, $30 to $50. Full steps, FS, MS65, $100 to $100, MS66, $250 to $400, MS67, $500 to $600 plus dollars. Auction record prices confirm sales near $593 plus for MS67 FS. 9. Errors and varieties. Rare errors can increase value. Off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet errors, struck-through debris. Most viral million-dollar nickel claims online are false. 10. Investment perspective. Not a silver coin, not rare by date, valuable only in top condition, best for collectors, not investors. How to check your coin. Use 10x magnifier. Check Monticello steps. Look for luster. Avoid cleaning. Consider PCGS or NGC grading. Final English summary. Common coin in circulation, rare in full steps condition. Maximum value comes from grade plus strike. Realistic value range is $0.05 to $600 plus. Next up. The 1978 Monticello Jefferson nickel without a mint mark is a standard circulation 5-cent coin of the United States of America, produced during a period when the Jefferson nickel series had already been in circulation for 40 years, having first been introduced in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel. And by 1978, the design had become one of the most familiar coins in everyday American commerce, featuring a left-facing bust of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse, and the iconic image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia plantation home, on the reverse. And the absence of a mint mark on this coin is not an error, not a rarity, and not an indicator of special value, but rather a normal characteristic of coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1978 did not use mint marks on nickels, and this fact alone eliminates one of the most common misunderstandings held by new collectors and online sellers, who incorrectly assume that no mint mark automatically means rare, when in reality it simply means Philadelphia issue. And in the case of the 1978 Jefferson nickel, the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous quantity, approximately 585,673,900 coins, making it one of the most widely minted nickels of the late 20th century. And such an extraordinarily high mintage ensures that availability remains abundant even decades later, particularly in circulated and heavily worn condition. From a metal composition standpoint, the 1978 Jefferson nickel follows the standard post-World War II alloy used for U.S. nickels, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with no precious metal content whatsoever, unlike silver coins such as mercury dimes or early Jefferson nickels from wartime years, 1942 to 1945. And this lack of intrinsic metal value means the coin's worth is entirely dependent on collector demand, condition, and rarity, none of which favor a heavily worn 1978 example. And physically, the coin weighs 5 grams, measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge, specifications that remained unchanged for decades, further reinforcing its status as a standard, mass-produced circulation coin, rather than a special issue. When discussing a heavily worn condition, it is important to understand how professional numismatics defines wear, because many people underestimate how drastically wear affects value, especially for modern coins. And a heavily worn 1978 Jefferson nickel typically falls into the good G4 or very good VG8 grading range, meaning Jefferson's facial features are mostly flattened, the hair detail is largely smooth, the word Liberty may be weak or partially merged with the rim, the date may appear thin or worn, and on the reverse, the Monticello building often loses nearly all architectural detail, including columns and steps. And this loss of detail is critical because collectors overwhelmingly prefer coins with sharp strikes and minimal wear, and for a common date coin like 1978P, high-grade condition is the only path to premium value, which is completely absent in heavily worn examples.
The presence of a black mark, dark stain, or blackened surface on a Jefferson nickel is another major factor that negatively impacts value, and such marks are almost always the result of environmental damage, chemical exposure, long-term circulation grime, oxidation, or improper storage, such as contact with moisture, soil, oil, or cleaning agents. And while natural toning can be attractive on older silver coins, on copper-nickel modern coins like the 1978 nickel, black discoloration is viewed by collectors and dealers as surface damage, not desirable patina. And far from increasing value, these marks typically reduce eye appeal, making the coin even less attractive to collectors who already have thousands of cleaner examples to choose from. And in professional numismatic markets, eye appeal is a real and measurable factor that directly affects liquidity and price. From a realistic market value perspective, a heavily worn 1978 Jefferson nickel with black marks has no premium value, and in the U.S. coin market it is almost always valued strictly at face value, 5 cents, and even in bulk circulated lots, such coins may only bring 6 to 10 cents per coin if sold in very large quantities by weight. And individual coin dealers typically refuse to purchase such coins because the cost of handling exceeds potential profit. And it is crucial to distinguish between actual sold prices and fictional asking prices, because many online platforms show exaggerated listings claiming values of hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars for common nickels, but these listings are not supported by auction records, grading service records, or professional price guides, and they remain unsold indefinitely, serving only to mislead inexperienced collectors. Another widespread myth associated with the 1978 Jefferson nickel is the claim that bad condition coins are more valuable, which is categorically false in legitimate numismatics, because while certain rare error coins may exist in poor condition and still hold value due to extreme rarity, a standard, non-error, high mintage coin like the 1978 P Jefferson nickel loses value as condition decreases, and wear, scratches, stains, corrosion, and black marks all work against value, not in favor of it. And no recognized grading service, including PCGS or NGC, has ever assigned extraordinary value to a normal 1978 Jefferson nickel based solely on poor condition. In international markets, particularly in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa, U.S. coins are sometimes marketed as rare foreign currency, and while they may hold novelty value, this does not translate into real numismatic worth, and buyers should be cautious of social media videos and messaging app posts claiming secret or hidden value in ordinary nickels, because professional collectors rely on auction records, population reports, and established price guides, all of which confirm that the 1978 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel in heavily worn condition with black marks is one of the least valuable coins in the Jefferson series, and its correct classification is circulated common coin, not collectible rarity. At this point, we have covered historical background, minting facts, composition, condition impact, discoloration causes, and market reality. But this is only the beginning of the full analysis, and in the next parts we will go even deeper into grading standards, error myths versus real errors, why YouTube misinformation spreads, how professional dealers evaluate such coins, long-term market trends, comparison with truly valuable Jefferson nickels, psychological reasons people believe worn coins are rare, and a final definitive conclusion supported by decades of numismatic data. Next up,
the 1970D Monticello Jefferson nickel is a 5-cent coin of the United States of America struck at the Denver Mint, identifiable by the small D mint mark located to the right of Monticello on the reverse, and it belongs to the long-running Jefferson nickel series that began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. and by the year 1970, this design had already become a deeply established part of American daily commerce, representing stability, mass production, and utilitarian coinage rather than rarity or exclusivity. And it is critical to understand from the beginning that the presence of a D mint mark on a 1970 Jefferson nickel does not automatically imply rarity, hidden value, or collector premium, because the Denver Mint produced an extremely large number of these coins, approximately 515,485,380 pieces, which firmly categorizes the 1970 D issue as a high-mintage, common-date coin, widely available in circulated condition even today. From a composition and physical specification standpoint, the 1970 D Jefferson nickel is made of the standard copper-nickel alloy used for U.S. nickels after World War II, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, containing no silver or precious metal, weighing exactly 5 grams, measuring 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and featuring a plain edge. And these specifications are important because many non-experts mistakenly believe that older U.S. coins automatically contain silver or gold, but this is not true for nickels struck in 1970, as only wartime nickels from 1942 to 1945 contain silver, and therefore the intrinsic metal value of a 1970 D nickel is essentially equal to its face value, meaning that any value above 5 cents must come entirely from collector demand, which is heavily dependent on condition and rarity. The obverse design shows a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, with inscriptions including "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1970. And in heavily worn examples, these elements are often weak, flattened, or partially merged into the rim, while the reverse design depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, with E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. And on heavily worn coins, the architectural details, columns, steps, and dome lines are often almost completely erased, leaving only the outline of the building, which drastically reduces visual appeal and collector interest. When a 1970 D Jefferson nickel is described as heavily worn, this indicates prolonged circulation over many years, possibly decades, during which the coin experienced constant friction against other coins, surfaces, and hands. And in professional grading terms, such a coin usually falls within the good G4, very good VG8, or at best fine F12 range. And for modern high-mintage coins like the 1970 D nickel, grades below extremely fine, XF, carry no premium whatsoever because collectors can easily obtain higher-grade examples at minimal cost. And the lower the grade, the closer the coin's value approaches its face value, regardless of age. The addition of a black mark, dark stain, or blackened surface further reduces desirability, and such marks are almost never indicators of mint errors or special varieties, but instead result from environmental exposure, such as contact with moisture, oil, soil, chemicals, or prolonged storage in non-archival conditions. And while some coins develop attractive natural toning, especially silver coins, copper-nickel coins like the Jefferson nickel tend to develop dull, uneven discoloration rather than desirable toning. And professional dealers and collectors classify black marks as surface damage, which negatively affects both grade and marketability. And importantly, these marks do not add rarity, do not create collector demand, and do not increase value. From a realistic market value perspective, a heavily worn 1970 D Jefferson nickel with black marks is worth face value, 5 cents, in ordinary circumstances. And even when sold in bulk lots of circulated nickels, such coins may only command 6 to 10 cents each, depending on quantity and buyer.
And individual coin dealers rarely purchase such coins because the profit margin is negligible, and grading services will not certify such coins because the grading fee alone far exceeds any potential value, making submission economically irrational. A major problem in today's market is the spread of misinformation, especially on video platforms and social media, where claims circulate that 1970D nickels are rare, black marks mean error, or bad condition coins are worth more. And these claims are completely unsupported by auction records, price guides, or professional numismatic literature. And in reality, the opposite is true. Wear and damage destroy value, particularly for common-date modern coins, and no reputable auction house has ever sold a normal, heavily worn 1970D Jefferson nickel for a significant premium. It is also important to separate asking price from selling price because many online listings show unrealistic prices for common nickels, but these listings remain unsold and do not reflect true market demand. And professional numismatics relies on verified sales data, population reports, and historical trends, all of which consistently show that the 1970D Jefferson nickel only becomes collectible when it is in high mint state condition or when it exhibits a confirmed major mint bearer, such as a dramatic off-metal strike, large clipped planchet, or verified double die, none of which are indicated by heavy wear or black marks alone. At this stage, we have established the basic historical context, minting facts, physical composition, condition impact, discoloration reality, and baseline market value of the 1970D Monticello Jefferson nickel. But this is only the foundation of the full long-form analysis. In the upcoming parts, we will go much deeper into professional grading standards, why 1970D nickels flood the market, comparison with truly valuable Jefferson nickels, how to identify real errors versus damage, psychological reasons behind rarity myths, international resale misconceptions, long-term value trends, and a final evidence-based conclusion that leaves no confusion. Next up.
The 1971D Monticello Jefferson nickel is a 5-cent coin of the United States of America struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the D mint mark located on the reverse to the right of the Monticello building, and it belongs to the Jefferson nickel series that has been in continuous production since 1938, making it one of the longest-running and most familiar coin designs in U.S. history. And by the early 1970s, this coin was firmly established as a purely utilitarian object of everyday commerce rather than a specially produced collectible, which is an essential fact that must be understood before evaluating value, because the vast majority of Jefferson nickels from this period were created to circulate widely and were not intended to be rare, scarce, or investment-grade items. In 1971, the Denver Mint produced an extraordinarily large number of Jefferson nickels, approximately 461 million coins, which firmly categorizes the 1971D issue as a high-mintage, common-date coin. And high mintage is one of the most powerful factors in determining long-term value, because when hundreds of millions of coins are released into circulation, survival rates remain high even decades later, especially in worn condition, and this abundance ensures that demand can always be satisfied without paying premiums, particularly for coins that show heavy wear or damage. From a composition and physical specification standpoint, the 1971D Monticello Jefferson nickel is made of the standard copper-nickel alloy used for U.S. nickels after World War II, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, containing no silver or gold, weighing 5 grams, measuring 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and featuring a plain edge. And because it lacks precious metal content, its intrinsic value is effectively equal to its face value, meaning that any additional worth must come from collector interest, which is heavily influenced by condition, originality, and the absence of damage. The obverse design features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, with inscriptions including "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1971, while the reverse design depicts Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia estate, along with inscriptions E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. And in heavily worn examples, the sharpness of these design elements is dramatically reduced, with Jefferson's hair details flattened, facial features smoothed, lettering weakened, and on the reverse, Monticello's columns, steps, and fine architectural lines often becoming faint or nearly invisible, which places such coins firmly into low circulated grades. When a coin is described as heavily worn, it indicates prolonged circulation over many years, sometimes decades, during which the coin experienced constant friction against other coins, surfaces, and handling. And in professional numismatic terms, a heavily worn 1971 D Jefferson nickel typically falls into the good G4 or very good VG8 ranges, occasionally reaching fine F12 if some detail remains. But for modern high-mintage nickels, grades below extremely fine carry no collector premium, because collectors can easily obtain higher-grade examples for minimal cost, and therefore have no incentive to purchase heavily worn pieces. The condition described as side crashes is especially significant because side crashes, also referred to as rim damage, edge damage, or impact damage, occur when a coin has been struck forcefully against hard objects, dropped repeatedly, caught in machinery, or otherwise damaged after it left the mint. And such crashes can result in flattened rims, dents, gouges, bends, or distorted edges. And from a professional numismatic perspective, this type of damage is classified as post-mint damage, not a mint error, which is a critical distinction because post-mint damage destroys collector value rather than creating it. In legitimate numismatics, edge and rim damage are among the most severe negative factors affecting a coin's desirability, because the rim is essential to the coin's original shape, protection, and aesthetic balance. And when the rim is damaged, the coin loses symmetry, originality, and eye appeal. And for this reason, professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC either heavily penalize or outright refuse to grade coins with significant edge damage. And when heavy wear is combined with side crashes, the coin becomes completely unattractive to serious collectors. A common misconception is that damage makes a coin rare or unique, but rarity without demand has no value. And in the case of the 1971 D Jefferson nickel, demand for damaged, heavily worn examples is effectively non-existent because millions of cleaner, non-damaged examples exist. And collectors who need a 1971 D nickel for an album will always choose a better preserved coin, even if it costs slightly more, rather than a damaged one. From a realistic market value standpoint, a heavily worn 1971 D Jefferson nickel with side crashes is worth face value 5 cents in the United States. And even when sold in bulk circulated coin lots, such damaged coins are often valued at the lowest tier or removed entirely. And individual resale value is essentially zero beyond face value because no professional dealer will pay a premium for a coin with both heavy wear and rim damage. It is also necessary to address the widespread internet and social media myths claiming that crashed sides, damaged rims, or deformed edges indicate rare mint errors worth large sums of money. But these claims are unsupported by auction records, price guides, or professional numismatic literature. And genuine mint errors are very specific, well-documented, and verifiable, whereas random impact damage caused after minting has no collectible value. And no reputable auction house has ever recorded a significant sale for a normal, heavily worn, edge-damaged 1971 D Jefferson nickel. At this stage, we have established the historical background, minting volume, composition, design, heavy wear impact, edge damage reality, and baseline market value of the 1971 D Monticello Jefferson nickel. But this is only the foundation of the full long-form explanation. In the next parts, we will explore professional grading standards in depth, why edge damage disqualifies coins from certification, comparison with genuinely valuable 1971 D era nickels, long-term market trends, psychological reasons behind rarity myths, and a final evidence-based conclusion that removes all confusion.